It's time for Twig. This week in Google, Dan Patterson of ABC News, formerly of ABC News Radio, joins Jeff and Gina as we talk about more cancellations at Google and why Microsoft is bringing bacon to Silicon Valley. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 122, recorded November 23rd, 2011. Dude, you're a barista. This Week in Google is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, visit netflix.com/twit. And by Ford, featuring available Sync with My Ford Touch. Sync with My Ford Touch gets you to your destination with integrated turn-by-turn directions and directional arrows displayed on screen. Check it out in the new 2012 Ford Focus and at ford.com/technology. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google, the show that covers Google, and not just Google, the cloud, Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff. Gina Trapani is here from smarterware.org. I can smell the apple pie cooking.
I know, it's pre-turkey Twig. The apple pie's in the oven, the turkey's brining. Good day.
You know, though, I bet you miss, I don't know, maybe you don't, a Brooklyn Italian Thanksgiving.
I do. We did the traditional American meal growing up at Thanksgiving. Christmas, though, Christmas Eve is when we get crazy. We do the 7-fish meal, Sicilian 7-fish meal. So I miss my mom's pasta because there's pasta at every meal.
And Thanksgiving we would have the traditional. Not me, but Italian types. I'm Italian, but we didn't never do this. But I wish we had. You have the traditional turkey and everything else, but you have like 5 extra courses with pasta and antipasto and all of that stuff because you're not full enough.
Oh, my mom's antipasto.
Oh, me too.
Maybe I should catch a flight.
Gabagool, and you got your salami, your Genoa, oh, man.
I'm in Whole Foods tonight because of you, Leo.
It's my fault. My fault. Is there a good Italian deli in San Diego? That's what you need.
There is a Little Italy in San Diego, but I'll tell you the truth. I save it for when I go back to Brooklyn. I'm a snob about pizza and bread and fresh mozzarella here.
It's like you can't have bagels in California.
No, or pizza. We had this conversation. Sarah Lane, she denies it. She said, no, we have excellent pizza. It's cornmeal crust. And I'm saying, that's not pizza.
That's not pizza.
That's a nice baked good, but it's not pizza.
Right.
Wolfgang Puck is the heretic of pizza. Duck sausage pizza was the downfall. It was the shark pizza that jumped over the pizza or something.
That's Jeff Jarvis sharking himself. He's at home, obviously taking a little time off, but normally he's a professor at City University of New York. I want to ask you about CUNY because I know there's been some protests there and some issues going on there too, as with many universities across the country. He's also the author of a fabulous new book called Public Parts about living in public and its benefits. Thanks for being here, Jeff. Do you smell any turkey cooking in your house?
No, we're having friends over tomorrow, and it's a culinary. My wife, it was her idea, and I can't cook. I'd poison people. And she said, I'll work it out because they have one is kosher, one is vegetarian, one can't eat starch, vinegar, or other things, and one is picky.
What? Only one? Okay.
I don't know what we're having tomorrow. I think we're having scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs.
I think so.
Which was the original title for Paul McCartney's Yesterday, by the way. Scrambled eggs. All I want today is scrambled. That's actually true. He wrote the melody without a lyric, and he just vamped using the word scrambled eggs. Trivia that's completely useless.
You learn something every day here at TWiT Network.
That guy with the beard, ceiling cat over here, is actually Dan Patterson.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. He's a frozen picture today because his Time Warner cable sucks. So we couldn't get a Skype video and audio, but you sound good.
Well, that's what matters, right?
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
We only send people pictures because they demand it. And because we have such a beautiful studio.
Silly audience.
Silly audience. Dan, formerly with ABC Radio News, now you're starting your own podcasting business. Damn your eyes.
Yep, that is correct. I have decided that I should stop talking about the revolution and start joining it. So we're not doing technology focus, but we're doing world political and business news for technology.
Awesome.
Oh, in that case, Leo will bring your picture back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you can have video. No, actually, I'm always thrilled when I hear people doing it because I think that this is ripe for transformation, the media business. But what scares me is that there are only a handful of us doing this, and it's not good to be the only person in a category. That scares everybody, including listeners, advertisers, and me. So
well, what you do,
welcome.
Leo, is validate that this is an absolutely essential medium.
I think so.
And good content is medium agnostic. So you can do this as a podcast or a TV show or a video show. If it's quality, people will come.
Do you have a name for the new business?
Well, there's a corporation. It's called CoPoint, but again, we don't. This doesn't need to be a plug fest for this. We'll have several shows that start around the first of the year, and I will be on the presidential campaign. Is my core competency.
Oh, how
for
exciting!
Focus.
This
So
is
I'll be at,
Dan. This is huge because you did a lot with Occupy Wall Street. And I wondered, in fact, as you were doing this, how ABC Radio News felt because you really were freelancing on this.
Well, nobody cared. I would cover that, and frequently I would talk to you, and I would send Jeff messages on Google Plus, and this community cared. The technology community cared. I would send it to my editors, and crickets.
Yeah.
Crickets. So there's an audience, but that audience may not be. Well, I don't need to say disparaging things. All roses and sunshine.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. And so follow Dan Patterson on Google Plus, of course, where you'll see the same beautiful picture of him, and and find out more about what he is involved with there. Google Plus Dan Patterson with 2 T's. So let's talk about the week in Google News, starting off with more funereal music as Google kills even more stuff. Jeff Jarvis on the mouth trumpet.
I don't think you wanted to say that.
So Wave was already dead, but they're actually officially killing it. I don't understand that, Gina.
Wait, what is it? What is it? The stake through the heart?
Yeah,
Silver
they just had
bullets?
they had to re-announce it just to remind us.
I'm not dead yet. Yes, I am.
Well, they announced that they were stopping development, but they were just kind of keeping it around for a few months, which turned into a whole year. Now they're saying that
it's really
wave.google.com will no longer exist, and that you won't be able to write to waves after the first of the month.
Oh.
And you should export your waves.
Wow.
Now, I think everyone who used Wave is pretty well warned and aware.
The
that that's
Rasmussens
happening.
moved on, right? They're not still at Google. The guys who did Wave, Google Maps
Lars
before
is at
that.
Facebook now. I'm not sure what his brother's doing, but yeah. And most of the Wave team has disbanded and moved on to other things.
Kill by app, will ya?
We'll go to Facebook. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
When TechCrunch is reporting that, in addition to these products, Google is also, at the very least, downsizing, if not cutting, a lot of their green tech initiatives.
Yeah, this is a little disappointing.
Story on the, what they're doing then is they're going to kill all of their internal development that they were doing, but keep open the external investments. And this has been a yin-yang in terms of Google.org, because Google.org originally started by deciding they were going to invest in outside things. And then they got the technology hubris to say, well, we can do a better job. So they did a lot of this effort in-house, and now they're turning back around again in this focus thing. It occurs to me that under Larry, the irony of this is that under Eric Schmidt, he was the adult supervision, but under Larry, Google's becoming a grown-up company.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
It is really interesting. I find these product these product cuts to be really satisfying. Like, yeah, we all knew that Null wasn't working. It makes complete sense that it's not there, and we all knew that Buzz and Wave and Google Plus and all the social stuff and Reader was all redundant. And it's very clear that they're going with Plus, so it makes sense to trim the rest of these things. So I'm not sad about any one of these in this announcement. I think that they all make complete sense.
It could
Having
also
finished
communicate
sitting Siva for-
self-confidence.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
Go down.
This really communicates self-confidence, that Google knows what it is and why it exists. And the 10 years prior to this, we all knew what Google did, but we didn't really know why it existed. And now this focus is communicating to the world, look, we are doing this and we are confidently pursuing this. We're not just washing, willy wagging in this direction.
Yeah, although some things, there's, for instance, saying, okay, what was it? Was it null? Use Google Plus instead. But some things Google Plus doesn't do, right? Or
Google Reader.
Right. Google Reader. And Google, oh, no, even more, Google Connect, which I was using on my blog. That was, remember?
Friend Connect.
Friend Connect. They said, well, just use Google Plus, but it doesn't do the same thing at all, really.
Right. And the Google Reader functionality is not completely available in Google Plus either.
Right.
So they are making some, and we talked to Matt Howie about that, who was pretty upset about it because it was something that he used a lot. So, yeah.
Are they laying off people with this?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Are they also getting rid of people when they get rid of them? I mean, beyond the ones who leave because you killed my app, this isn't a cost-cutting thing in any way, is it?
It sounds like it's a focus thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right, because they still need the talent. They're still probably hiring talent.
I would bet. Yeah, I would bet.
Yep.
So Google bookmarks, this is, what's really interesting is as you read this list, a lot of people are going to go, huh? What? They did that? Google bookmarks lists.
Right.
Google Friend Connect. Google Gears. Well, we already knew that was gone. Mm-hmm. Google Search Timeline. That was a graph of I liked this. But
that was kind of nice.
Graph
I don't think it required any maintenance, but fine.
Well, but you want to keep the search results page simple, right?
Yes, you're right.
And you can still go to google.com/trends if you want to see that. And they still have the Ngram viewer, which I'm sure they'll kill any day now. Google Wave, Null, which was their, I guess their Wikipedia. They started that about 4 years ago. Null will work until April 30th, 2012. You can download your nulls. See, there's a problem right there, by the way. What? My what? Your nulls. My what? Your KNOLS, your nulls. It sounds like something out of World of Warcraft. You can download your nulls to a file or migrate them to WordPress.com.
Yeah, well, they're partnering with these two other companies
weird.
to kind of to move the null functionality onto a WordPress-based platform. They're working with Solvitar and CrowdFavorite to create Anotum, Anotum, which is
that's open. At least that's open source, right?
Right, and it's based on WordPress, so I guess that's why they have some. They're cozy with WordPress, so they're familiar with the format. So that makes sense.
And then,
I mean, SideWiki and Null on this show have been sort of representative of these 20% projects or side projects that no one used, that we talked about one show, and that we never brought up again. I mean, is there anything left in the Google sort of product list that we think should have been cut? Or
well, they killed
Labs,
right?
Yes.
They killed Labs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you have to do that, and I think you're exactly right. It's a focus issue. And that's, Apple's a good example of a company that just said, we're going to make these 8 products or whatever. It's not even that many. 4 products. And that's...
Four focuses, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a certain Orchid. I mean, Orchid's no longer number one in, I think,
even in Brazil. Yeah, even in Brazil.
Oh, now Facebook is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does seem like that's pretty redundant with Google Plus.
They'll kill that, right?
The problem there, but here's the problem there, and this happened years ago when my daughter was on American Girl's site, and Mattel killed it. And the problem is that once you start a community, it's not your community anymore to kill; it's the communities. And so Orchid is the communities, and there's some responsibility that follows there. That you've gotten people into it, they've got their connections there, they're addicted to it, and then, sorry, rug pull.
Well, I think, Jeff, while I would absolutely agree that is the correct way to proceed, I think it is still good. And that's actually one of the core issues with putting so much of your trust and your brains, your smarts, your energy, your creative output into a system that you don't control. That
I know.
This is Google's to kill.
But that's the web now. I mean, unless you own your own LAMP server and running WordPress.org.
Right.
That's the web. I mean, how many people have Tumblr blogs, WordPress.com blogs, blogs?
Right. It's a discussion of principle, I think. A local government opens a park and then just decides to close the park because it just doesn't want it anymore. And what do all the little kiddies do?
Yeah.
This is common space. This is a new tragedy of the commons.
Well, I think that's the misconception, though, is that this is a common space, right? But it's a common space that is owned and controlled and operated privately. And so
Well,
without
yeah.
the ability to take that and go, and of course there is Google Takeout, but one of the things that they really, really need to do is stress how you can do something with this data once you've taken it out. And we make the mistake of saying, well, it's a common space, it's our community, we can do what we want here. And a company comes along and says, no, we own and operate this. Get out. We're
But
closing
Dan, I
it
mean,
down.
I agree about the reality check, but what I'm trying to say is something different. That I think that we have the opportunity on a lot of things like net neutrality and other principles to hold a company to a principle. And at some point, if a company creates a community, creates something we depend upon, and if they go bankrupt, they go bankrupt. That's life. But if they decide to toy with you and just do it, I think they need to suffer more ire than they do. I was very mad at
That's the only words we have, right? Is that if you break this trust relationship with us, your community, we may not come back. But you can only do that if you have leverage.
Yeah, well, I think look at Delicious. Yahoo, let it languish and went nowhere, was going to kill it, and then people came along and got it, and Yahoo let them.
I guess I would just say that this is a lesson learned for all of us, and it's not a bad reminder to have that most of the stuff we do on the internet we don't own or control. It's our content, but Twitter, Facebook, I mean, 99% of what people do on the internet is owned by an individual corporation. I mean, that's why I like the idea of diaspora. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but because it was federated, that's why I like all the things for this reason, I preferred StatusNet, for instance, Identica over Twitter, diaspora over Facebook, Linux over any, and it's like, it's nice, it's politically and philosophically nice to say it should be open, it should be distributed, no one should own it, but it doesn't work or something.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It's just not easy for regular people. There's not an easy way to set up federated nodes, a federated network, and get the kind of users that you get at a Twitter or Facebook. We deal with this at ThinkUp all the time. After the ThinkUp 1.0 release, everyone said, "Well, no one has a server," and it's like, well, I mean, we could start a hosting we could have a hosted solution that sucks in all your data and hosts it for you, but that doesn't solve any of the problem.
In a perfect world, each of us would have our own lamp stack server in the closet and run all of our stuff.
Right.
But then Time Warner will come along and you won't be able to get to it because there's no bandwidth, right, Dan?
That's exactly what I'm doing. I don't have a server in the closet, but I have a server. I have hard drives, and I serve everything is backed up to those, and I serve my own WordPress site from there.
Yeah.
Now, right to the.
But
public,
I do the same thing with my blog. It's a WordPress site on, and SoftLayer is a web hosting company that I'm on, but. I guess if SoftLayer went belly up, I could just take it and move it to another hosting company. So they don't have their fingers in that pie. We're all interdependent. You can't help but be interdependent.
Right. You're not an island. But Dan's point about Google offers Google Takeout. So great. So I export my data.
Then what?
And Facebook gives you export to HTML. Then what?
Then what?
It's almost
basically useless
disingenuous.
Without being connected to the community.
Hey, I've got a bunch of I've got a massive XML file.
Right.
Or even worse, an HTML file with your assets, so the images, the video, the audio, in different places, in different folders. Right. So trying to find something that'll recompile that so you can import it to Word. But
that's not their fault. I mean, with all due respect, there's only so much we can expect. They at least give it to you. And then if you're a true geek, you can write your own routines to make something out of it, or somebody else can, or Tumblr or somebody could create a routine to import it. Well, is it really Google's job to make it, usable in some other form?
It isn't, but it sort of reveals the flaw. It's great to say, hey, we liberate your data,
kind of a myth.
The reality of your data liberation is that you wind up with an XML file.
At me. I just don't want Fitz to yell at me. That's all. No, I admire and honor what they do with the data liberation front. And,
I do too.
I absolutely do. I was asked when I gave my spiel about at Google in New York.
Jeff has just held up his public parts.
I don't want to say it out loud. Somebody said, "Okay, smartass. What do we do about this?" And that's the moment when you say good questions, so you can buy yourself time to come up with an answer. And, I think what we do is we do create more and more and more open source things. We need more Apaches and more, even though I use Chrome, I always know that Firefox is there, Wikipedia is there. And it makes me wonder that if you were a foundation or someone like that, the investment in helping to support a Mozilla is minuscule to nothing. This goes to Clay Shirky's cognitive surplus thing where, if you have the right people who really know what they're doing, what could we build? It also excites me about the notion that a hashtag now cuts across platforms and you can move it. We do have to worry about this architecture, absolutely.
We're talking about Google, the cloud, architecture, federation, all the important things in life this show covers, and that's because we got such smart panelists. Of course, Dan Patterson joining us. I want to say from Dan Patterson. That's where he's from.
Me.
What's your website?
From the internet.
From the internet.
DanPatterson.com.
There you go. From DanPatterson.com. That's all I need to say. Jeff Jarvis of the City University of New York and Public Parts. That doesn't sound right either. And Gina Trapani of smarterware.org and thinkupapp.com. In a bit, I'm going to receive some affirmation, some personal affirmation for my opinion from a major celebrity. But first, a word from Ford. Ford.com/technology. You got to go there and find out more about what Ford is up to. We talk about all of the great things that Ford Sync does. You could talk to your car like Siri. You could tell it to call somebody. You could tell it what music to play, what temperature to make the car. You could tell it, say, where's the nearest gas station? What are the best gas prices? But I always forget to say the most important thing. And by the way, it's a great GPS that really gets you where you're going. It's the best I've ever used in any car, and I've used them all. Standalone or car, this is the best. You got a nice big screen in the center console. It tells you where you're going. You even get, with my Ford Touch, arrows behind the wheel, so you don't have to look down. It talks to you. It says turn left here, and then the arrow shows up. I mean, there's some really nice features to this. They've also added, and I like this, in Sync Services, they've added a whole new online account that goes, so for the first time, your car has a web page, basically. Actually, with syncmyride.com, you always had a web page, so this is even more. This is Sync Services, something new. For instance, you could be using Google Maps or MapQuest and send your destination to your web hosts. You don't have to, to the car's website, and then from there to the car. So, oh, yeah, I'm going to be going here, and you send it, and the car picks it up. They've got now a new database with over 40 million businesses. Everybody's in there, including telephone number and directions. So all you have to do is call up the business, and it'll say, you want to call it? It's very easy to use. And they have an app for Android and iPhone that lets you manage this account and even send yourself traffic alerts. So you say, well, I'm going to be going home later today, and your phone will text you if the traffic's getting bad. I mean, things like this are just awesome. They've really got to focus on consumer electronics, and you can find out more about it, of course, by going to your Ford dealer. Drive that 2012 Ford Focus. It's got all the doohickeys, all the features. Or visit Ford.com/technology, a great website with descriptions and videos on everything we're talking about, like that great EcoBoost engine that gives you the fuel efficiency and performance you're looking for. The electric vehicle, that's next in my Ford future, that Ford 2012 Focus electric. The hybrids, the plug-in hybrids. Safety, security, connection, it's all there. Ford.com/technology. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Google. So I told you last week I was talking to PubCom, formerly Webmaster World, big SEO convention, and I said Google is dead. I said Siri and other technologies are going to reintermediate search, and I don't think, because of social search and technologies like that, there's not a whole lot of future for Google. And they hated me because they've spent their whole, last 4 years figuring out how to optimize for Google. Well, I'm not alone. Look, Dexter agrees. There might be a little There might be a little profanity in this. Listen carefully to Dexter.
Not much I can do with intern puppy dog watching my every move.
Google's kind of 5 minutes ago, right? Try Elliot.
Elliot. It's the new Google.
uses a targeted algorithm to aggregate content without getting tripped up by a sneaky SEO.
Intern puppy dog has skills.
Google, so 5 minutes ago, try ElliottSearchEngine.com.
So 5 minutes ago.
Isn't that hysterical?
It is. It is. What's funnier to me is what we have in the rundown is that someone then gets self-righteously mad about it.
He says, uses an algorithm to aggregate content without getting tripped up by SEO BS. Well, I'm in trouble. Actually, now I have to say, Robert Lloyd Lewis, who produces Dexter, is a big fan. And I wouldn't be surprised if Robert just stuck that in there for me. Thank you, Robert. No, I'm sure he didn't. This show was written, I'm sure, long before.
Well, it's that TV conflation of SEO with spam.
Right.
Well,
SEO
you know
equals
what,
spam.
Gina? Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. Two illustrations. One, some media sites I know go so nutty about trying to get page views, and use SEO that they lose. This is the discussion we have with Leo, a post I started writing and never did, that you can grow too big. And that Leo is too smart for that. And he grows TWiT to the size of actual relevance and people caring about it as opposed to junk traffic. That's example one. Example two, I was just looking for a doctor for a specialty, right? It is impossible to find anybody. Now, first, because doctors are idiots and they don't create web pages and they don't create blogs, and that's their professional mistake. But even within that, then, all you have is SEO bait. You have, listed directories of doctors that actually tell you absolutely nothing, one after another after another. So it's the fact that SEO created this industry of baiting SEO. That's the problem. Now, is that the search engine's fault? Matt Cutts? No, it's not. Don't worry. I'm not going to say that, Matt. But it is the result of the phenomenon of being able to bait the search engine.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Search and the rules of search are like a framework, kind of like, Rails framework, right? And there are certain rules, and those rules will attract two primary personality types. One is like a used car salesman. Now, there's lots of good people who sell used cars, but it will attract that quick hit. I want to figure out how to make money and how to reach an audience very, very quickly. The other type is the engineer, the geek, the nerd, the person who likes putting puzzles together. Unfortunately, one personality type is far more in greater abundance than the other.
If you go to ElliottSearchEngine.com, by the way, you'll get a Facebook game. Talk about SEO. It's all about Dexter, but I think that's it's cross-marketing. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in so that we...
That's a little... I love that. It's the TV Easter egg.
Yes. You see more and more of that, I'm sure.
The creator of Heroes, whose name I'm suddenly forgetting,
Tim Crane.
delighted. Thank you, Tim Crane, delighted in doing that, and put in, he would put in a business card with a small email address, and no people would have to stop the video and blow it up and figure it out, and then he had something there for them when they went there.
It's really smart, I think.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's brilliant.
It's a smart way to give a nod to your really loyal, interested viewers, your super engaged viewers.
Which more and more of us are, because we're all getting nerdy, right?
Right, and we all have DVRs where we can pause it and blow it up and get to it.
And of course, in the long run, these engaged viewers are the most valuable viewers. Those are the ones you really want. So you're going to play to them more and more, I think.
But Leo, you're the one who's smart enough to see that. Kring is smart to see that, but media as a whole is not, and that's where SEO comes in.
Right.
Numbers, big numbers, mass.
Right.
We'll sell it to dumb out. It's media's fault and advertisers' fault.
Right. You're right. It's all about mass numbers, but I'm convinced that's going to change. Google Doodle this week is Thanksgiving. They launched it early, and this is just the G+ification of everything. Look at that. G plus share right on it.
First shareable logo ever.
When they said we're going to put G plus everywhere on Google, they meant it.
They weren't kidding.
It's on the Google Doodle, for crying out loud.
It's a fun doodle. It's a fun doodle for the kids. But there's a really cool doodle going on in Europe right now, and I wonder if Google timed this so that the Europeans didn't feel left out of the Thanksgiving doodle. If you go to google.co.uk, it's a really neat doodle that's homage to a science fiction writer.
Oh, Stanislaw Lem.
Yeah.
This is wild. Lem is amazing guy, wrote Solaris, which people might have seen the George Clooney movie of the same name. There's actually been 2 movies of that. And I know about it because Audible just commissioned, there never was a good translation of Solaris. It was translated from Polish to Russian to English. So they commissioned the first direct translation of it, and you can listen on Audible. So what do I do if I click it?
You click on the play button on the lower right.
Okay.
There's a video that has, somebody
It looks
playing it.
okay. So there goes the robot. Is there audio on it? No.
There
Wow.
isn't, and I feel sorry for our listeners who don't have video.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
So it's a pen and
robot
ink drawing. Yeah. And the bot is walking along. Here's a giant robot. Lem was a science fiction author, as you might have guessed, from Poland. Yeah.
You have to answer the question, Leo.
Oh, 2 + 2 = 4, right?
We know that, but it's going to be a tricky way to get there. The next one. Okay, goes. Leo, I thought better of you.
What? I got it.
The
No?
next one.
What?
Next one's trickier, how to get there.
Oh, look at this. I see. I get it. I get it. It's the segment. Yeah, look at that. Okay, got it. Wow. This is a very elaborate doodle.
It is extremely
Holy
elaborate.
camole.
Is this Flash?
Yeah,
No,
it's got to
it's
be.
not.
It's not. Oh, it's HTML5. Of course it's HTML5.
HTML5, it's got to be.
Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course it is.
yeah, but this is impressive.
Wow. So when it slams like that, does that mean I got it wrong?
No, you got it right.
Oh.
Let's let you do the next one. I only know this because I watched the video. I cheated.
This makes me love Google, but it's not a search engine. It's an entertainment unit.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
I know Google search used to be a place where you wouldn't stay very long.
Right. I haven't even done a
You're
search, and
getting
I'm
like-
stuck here.
I get to
We'll
press
be back in a
buttons on
half-hour,
robots.
audience.
Yeah, really. Forget the show. Can I do this for a while?
For those of you on audio, Leo is trying to go through a logical headache right now, remembering his days of geometry and logic.
It's fun. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing trial and error. It's really fun. Wow, that's cool.
The chat room, I'm sure, in a second would tell you what to do.
Yeah. This is great radio, says 40 Thieves. Wow, that's cool. And all we got is a turkey.
Yeah, and all we got was an interactive turkey that you could share on Google Plus.
Just tells you what Google thinks of Americans versus Europeans. Oh, that's too hard for you. You might want to click the turkey's feathers, and they change color. It's pretty. Yay, share that on Google Plus. Is this all it does, really? Oh, I got a football helmet.
Yeah, you can customize. You can change the feather colors and the headdress and yeah.
Whoa, it's got a randomizer, too. Look at that. You pull the lever.
So, Gina, the question you asked before about what else they should kill, we turn it around now. What else could you
Google
imagine
Doodle.
gets the Google Plus treatment?
What else gets the Google Plus treatment?
Yeah.
I mean, everything can get the Google Plus. I mean, you can put a plus
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Well, they've
right?
already put the plus bar everywhere, right? That black bar is on top of everything now.
Right, but like the plus sign and being able to share, places and maps, the doodle results. I mean, I get most excited about the things where you can make something unique and then share it in the spirit of Mixel, which is that iPad app I was showing you earlier. And that's kind of what the turkey doodle does, right? You customize the collage, customize the picture and then you share it. And so I like to see more of that because I'm just interested in.
Oh, see, I'm an idiot. I shared it without customizing it. Look at my pretty turkey. It's so good. So Google Plus has also added trends, right? Trending topics. Where are those?
Yeah.
Are those on the left or the right?
I couldn't find them. It's after you do a search, I think.
Oh.
I couldn't find them either.
think
I
if
was
you
reading the
search 'em.
story and I didn't see.
Let me try this.
Let me read the story. This is from Search Engine Land as usual. Danny has it first. He nails it. Let's see what Danny wrote here about how to get trending topics. I've always thought Google Plus was a lot more Twitter than it was Facebook, but
Yeah, it's once you do a hashtag search on the right-hand side.
got it.
Oh, yeah, or if I just searched for just the word Facebook.
Okay.
And on the right, just to be funny, and on the right-hand side, it says trends.
Now, do they all have to do with Facebook?
No, they don't. Unless, well,
it's
Green Bay
just-
Packers. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know. Let's see.
Breaking Dawn, Dancing with the Stars. Yeah, these are basically Twitter trending, hashtags, but they're not hashtags, right? They're just topics.
How
that people
funny that
talk
you don't see it until you do a search.
Yeah, Google's not being pure about the hashtag by any means.
about. Right.
Something's really slowed my system down. I can't type anymore.
I mean, hashtags are just search terms, right? I mean, and the hashtag itself is kind of geeky. I mean, it's been embraced by our community, but
Yeah, I saw Chris Messina's post. He's got other things, slashes and dashes and, abbreviations. And I was like, oh, God, no. It's really already, I can't read Twitter. It's gibberish to me. Maybe it's my age. It's like there's too many, it's all this, people are using hashtags as ironic commentary now.
Yeah.
It's like, stop that. Stop that. Don't do that. Use your words. Prose, please. All right. There it is. Trends. Breaking Dawn. Yeah, I'm getting the same ones. Breaking Dawn, Dancing with the Stars, Green Bay Packers, Lady Gaga.
So why would the trends only come up on search? Why wouldn't they be there all the time?
Oh. And, of course, we didn't mention it, but they've got this new little tab bar on the right. Right now it's just YouTube, but eventually I imagine other Google features will be over here on the right, too. You know, that weird tab that as you scroll down comes back. It's so weird.
yeah, it is a little.
I
The
don't
UI
have
on
that.
that is a little weird.
I don't like
but
it.
I'm really interested in those collaborative experiences, like the watching a YouTube video with friends.
That's neat.
I'd like to
Yeah.
see more of that, right? Like I want to, screen sharing, pair programming. Hey, take a tour of my favorite city on Google Earth or Google Maps with me, or be able to replay it. That kind of thing.
But I have a feeling it's one of the reasons my browser is getting so slow is because Google is filled with these, look at this now. When I move my mouse over YouTube, it slides open and says, what would you like to play? That is not functionality that belongs on Google+.
No, you're right.
Right.
That's
That's
Right.
nutty. And it's slowing everything down. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm getting old.
The BBC just had a story. I didn't put it up on the list because I thought it was such BS, but they just were asking the question. It was one of those journalist tricks. Ask the question, you know what the answer they have is.
Right.
Is Google the other second thing is you have somebody deny something that doesn't exist. So Google denies that Google Plus is dead.
Google denies it ever stopped beating its wife. No, it never started. Google Plus is now in Google News 2. There are going to be social tools in the Google News. We already had the +1 button, but now when you sign into Google Plus, you'll see articles your friends have been reading. This is just, it's overloaded. It's ridiculous. And it's just going to get worse.
If you search, by the way, for Plus now, how do you get the New York Times brand page?
You just search for New York Times, right?
You just
Plus
use
New York Times.
But I'm not getting it. Well, I guess you search Google for Plus New York Times, not Google Plus. Oh, that's weird.
What?
Right?
Oh, it works for me in Plus. Yeah, Plus New York
Does?
Times. Yeah, it even knows to add the. Like I just typed Plus New, and it knew to show
But
me.
you-
Plus.
It's not showing me. It's doing a search. It's doing a search. It's not doing that.
No,
Are you putting
the,
spaces?
Yeah, I am. I did it on Google. I did a Google search, not a Google Plus search.
Yeah, but I did a plus.
That didn't work for me in Google Plus.
N-E-W-Y-O.
I had to go to another page and outside of Google Plus and search.
There
Are
it
you
is.
following them? Are they in your circles?
Oh, you have to
Yeah.
follow them.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Well, you shouldn't have to, because how would you find somebody new to follow?
This is
Yeah,
an
you shouldn't have to.
awfully
I
long
just
time
happened
ago.
to be-
Their slogan
This
is
is-
all the news that's fit to Plus.
This is not working. It's not working for me. New York Times. It's a search.
Leo, go to a plain Google search. Go up to your bar.
But that doesn't. That's
Search there.
see.
I know.
That's wrong.
I know.
It's doing a search. Do you mean New York Times? No, I mean. Oh, all right. Google. Let's try it from here. This is. I don't know.
Plus New York Times. Do the Plus New York.
Plus New York. Yeah,
is not
now exactly right. It goes to. It
Yeah,
won't
that's
work
what's
in
great.
Google Plus, but it'll work in the Google search.
The point of all this, which was not worth the travel, was notice the slogan.
All the news it's fit to plus. Boy,
Yep.
Arthur Oak Sulzberger is spinning in his stretch limousine. That's interesting. He said we won't be a print newspaper in 10 years, and he said that about 5 years ago. So
So
all right,
if
now here's the
cloud
next one.
counts,
We have in the rundown that there's now a Barack Obama Plus page, which is his campaign, so it's fundraising.
Yeah.
I can't figure out how to get to it either.
You can't just Barack plus Barack?
Yeah, plus Barack.
Plus? Oh, plus Barack. Okay.
No, it doesn't work for me either. I think it just works for you, Gina.
It's working for me,
I have
no
both of those in my circles. I have both the New York
Well,
Times
once
and
you've
Barack
circled
Obama.
them, it should work, but you should be able to do a plus search.
Right.
So
No,
this
I just did it both. Uncircled and circled worked just fine.
Click the first name. Click this. See, this is going to give me a search for Barack Obama,
Yeah, that's what I got.
which gives me Dan Patterson's article.
Outstanding.
Yes, it has good taste anyway.
Clearly. You know, what I think is most interesting about this, I remember 2007 and 2008, I was covering the presidential campaign at the same time. Twitter was out. I was using Twitter, but mainstream America, if you remember, it wasn't until around the time of President Obama's inauguration in 2009 that Twitter really tipped, that the social web tipped. And that wasn't that long ago. That OFA or that President Obama's campaign has set up a Google Plus page, we kind of take for granted now.
Right. It's not a news story. Yeah.
Right. It's not a news story, but we have changed so much in such a short period of time. When history looks back at this period of time, we will be remembered as, you know, this recalls what you just said about the New York Times, that we've experienced so much change. The dynamics of our conversations have changed so much in 3 years that this is, you know, it's unprecedented.
I was thinking the other day, if you can say that things are changing in a linear fashion, or as Ray Kurzweil says, an exponential fashion.
Exponential.
It seems to be, but I don't want to make it a given just because Ray says it. But
this is where I argued last week that the change is actually slower than we think.
that's what I'm wondering. It's interesting, Jeff. That's what I've been wondering too. You know, through of course human history, it's been a lot slower than it is right now. There's no question that it's going fast. But is it really exponential?
I believe that it is exponential, although culturally the change will happen at different tempos and different speeds.
That's true.
I can see this with the organization that I just left. I mean, trying to get a damn Tumblr share button onto one of their websites was 3 weeks of negotiations and meetings, right?
And by
I'm
the
not
way,
exaggerating.
Well, all right.
It may be that the distance between us, right, that our culture, the web culture, the tech culture,
Right.
is experiencing accelerated change, and the world is experiencing this change, but it's reflected in us as though it is very fast, and it's reflected in other cultures like traditional news at a much slower pace. So the distance, the divide is
all right, that's fair, but I also think that assumes that we kind of know what the change is, and if what Leo and I think are saying is that if you instead say that the change is much vaster than we've yet seen, then in 100 years you'd look back and say, well, actually, no, the change was slow. It was Gutenberg years. We think it's huge, and it is huge to us. You're right. But, you know, to an ant, a giraffe looks big, but what if it's, you know, a sky elevator we're looking at?
I think this notion that it's
really
exponential
awful
is predicated on Moore's law primarily. The fact, you know, Gordon Moore of Intel said that the chip processor transistor count would double every 18 months. Which is exponential. And it seems that maybe not everything changes at the same pace. I don't know.
Sure.
And I think you make a good point, Dan, that culturally things change at very differing paces. You know, on TWiT, we got a lot of blowback on TWiT this week because we were talking about Google Music. And the panelists, Kara Swisher, Mike Elgin, Rafe Needleman from CNET and Kevin Rose. These are all, you know, cutting edge people. They all just agreed, oh, well, it's too late, too little, too late. Everybody's just going to use subscription services. Nobody wants to own music anymore. And I got a surprising amount of pushback from the audience saying, what are they, crazy? They just accept it as given? I accept it as given. I think that is the case. But I think there's an example of a cultural mismatch, but that there are people who are moving a lot faster. And they've already seen it. They've already said, no, Spotify. Who's buying music anymore? We don't need music anymore. I mean, obviously there'll be a small number of people who will continue to buy music, but I think it's pretty clear that subscription services mean that Google Music is too little too late. Yes?
Well, I also think that there are some pretty qualifiable cultural benchmarks that we can look at, right? We can look at a particular time frame and take some data sets and see how people communicated, how they acted, and how they consumed not just information but products, right? And we can look at the last 5 years and measure against those benchmarks, right? Say take 1950 to 2000, right? Very, very little change. Now, of course, Jeff, what you're saying is true. Is the further out, the closer we get to a 30,000-foot view, things are going to look a lot smaller. But in terms of the context of contemporary history, right? Since the Industrial Revolution, I would argue that we have made more change in the last 5 years than we did since the Industrial Revolution.
I'm not judging it on that scale, Dan. I'm judging it on the scale of how much change is still being caused by the causes we now see.
I don't understand that.
In other words, well, the example I used last week, and pardon me, I'm going to repeat sorry, chat room. We're going to get get your glasses ready.
Habermas moment.
It's Gutenberg moment. That if you ask people in Germany in 1472 whether they thought that Gutenberg would tear apart the Catholic Church, change our notion of nations, change our spark the scientific revolution, change our notion of education and thus of childhood, they all say, "Nah, you're nuts. We've been changing like crazy. Look, the whole political structure has changed. My God, we're almost done with the change."
Right.
The change was much more than anyone then could see, and I think we're in the same case now. There's a wonderful ebook out called Race Against the Machine, by Eric, I'll mispronounce this, Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee. And I just read it. And the example that they give is the old chessboard and grains of rice that if you multiply, right? And what they said was that when you get to the second half of the chessboard is when it gets just so
It's the
friggin'
hockey
big.
stick.
And
That's what
where we are
Kurzweil
right
calls the hockey stick.
Right.
It's
so
the inflection point.
Yeah. So they argue that we're there now. So
Right. That's what
I'm not
Kurzweil
disagreeing with
argues
Dan.
as well.
We're undergoing a lot of change, and that change seems very quick. But I think that we're judging the pace and extent of that change on the analog of what we knew in the last world, in the industrial world. And I think that I won't live to look back and say, yeah, that was the beginning. That guy Jarvis got to live through the very beginning of it. Man, he had no idea what was going to happen. And the reason that matters,
I absolutely agree with that.
and that matters because I got criticized again recently. I don't know why people criticize me. I'm a nice guy. In Columbia Journalism Review, went after Shirky and Jay Rosen and me for these future of news guru people and trying to protect the past. And my response to that was the response I haven't written, but the response is, do you remember that great scene in broadcast news when Holly Hunter's with her boss and her boss says, it must feel good to always be right. And she said, no, it's awful.
Yeah.
An old mentor and boss of mine asked me about a year ago, well, it must feel good, Jarvis, you were right. And I said, no, I wasn't right. I was wrong. I didn't guess. I never would have guessed Twitter. I never would have guessed the extent of the change. I was obnoxious arguing that we were going to change like crazy, and I didn't go far enough. I wasn't loud enough. And that's where I think we are now. So the danger of saying, oh, my God, we've really seen a lot of change is that I think we may think that we're at some, arc right now, and I don't believe we are.
Oh, sure, but I don't think making that argument is a binary. I mean, I think that you can absolutely say we have experienced a ton of change in the last 5 years, and I don't think that excludes the change that we will see. It's not a binary. It's not an either or. It is, yes, we've seen a tremendous amount of change, but you're absolutely right in that predicting the types of changes that we will see, it's like comparing chess to Go, right?
Gina, you're younger than a couple of us here.
Yeah, it's funny. I must be really impatient. I feel like the change isn't happening fast enough.
Bingo. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, perfect.
You're in a hurry.
I am in a hurry. I get really frustrated when I see things like Google Plus, which I feel like should have innovated a lot more. When I see things like the NIM wars and conversations about whether or not bloggers or journalists happening over and over again, and whether or not there should be more women in tech, blah, blah, blah. I get I get frustrated because I feel like, I want things to move faster. I want innovation to happen more often. I wish that and now I'm very deeply embedded into the web culture and the tech culture. And And I do feel like we're on the verge of a lot of wonderful big hockey stick kind of change culturally, like widely culturally. But I get frustrated with our tech community for not moving as fast or innovating as much as I would like to see.
Good Lord, if it goes any faster, my wig's going to fly off. Are you crazy?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, I mean, Google Music. This is interesting. So, Leo, you think that Google Music is it feels like this catch up to something that happened a few years ago because
they're trying to do
subscription services are obviously
iTunes.
the future. So does that frustrate you? It's like, well, why?
No, it doesn't frustrate me because fortunately we have Mog, RDO, Spotify. We have all these subscription choices, so I don't feel frustrated. But I wonder if this is a sensible strategy for Google or Apple. You know where I do feel frustrated is that, and this is where change is too slow, is that entrenched powers that be, like the record industry, don't get it, don't support it, pull out, try to kill it. Time Warner's trying to kill your Skype, Dan, because they want to sell VoIP products. All of these entrenched powers that are saying, they're saying the barbarians are at the gates and they're holding the door closed. Yep. That's frustrating. But in some ways, I think change happens so fast that's, I personally, I think I love change. And I think that's why I got in this business. But most people don't feel that way. And even our audience, change the website and see what happens.
That's true.
I think a lot of people wish things would not change, or we get used to stuff and we wish it wouldn't change. I think we've accepted it as canon that change is exponential and that we're in the hockey stick, we're at the elbow of the hockey stick. And I just wonder, I mean, yeah, there's evidence for that, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Dan. It's not uniform. In fact, who was it said that the future's already, I think it was William Gibson said the future's already here, it's just not uniformly distributed.
Right.
That kind of says it all. We're going to take a break, come back with more in a bit. I'm going to show you, I love Samsung. Because they have come back with such a slap to Apple that I'm very curious to see what the reaction is going to be from the Apple side. I just think John Gruber's...
you're going to get in trouble for showing that later.
I know, and I hope I do. I think John Gruber's head must be exploding right now. Because it's aimed actually at him. But before we do... directly. Before we do that, let me just briefly say Netflix. Here's an example of the future writ large. Netflix started as a DVD by mail company, right? And you could see they've struggled a little bit with this as the content companies, mostly the movie industry, have said, no, you can only have 3 copies of that popular movie, or you can't have it for a month after we start selling it in the stores. It's been very difficult with physical media, but you know what? They're smart. They saw, Reed Hastings, he's a brilliant guy, he saw that physical media is history. I know, again, when I say stuff like this, people go, but what about, we need our DVDs and CDs. No, streaming is the future. Let me tell you. And Netflix streaming, they've doubled down on that. Not only is it only $7.99 a month for, just a huge amount of content, but now, did you see they're bringing back Arrested Development? They're going to produce it. They're producing programming. This is the future right here. And if you haven't yet been watching Netflix streaming, you got to check it out. It's actually what's killing Dan Patterson's bandwidth right now because everybody's doing it. I just read I read somewhere 1/3 of all internet traffic is now Netflix. 1/3 of all internet traffic. And why? Because it's great. Now, I know all of you already have it. So here's my Thanksgiving prayer. My wish for those of you in the U.S., I know Canadians, it's too late for you, and the rest of the world are going, Thanksgiving. But for those of you in the United States, please, when you sit across the table tomorrow from Grandpa and Grandma, Uncle Jim, Sister Betty, all the people who don't use Netflix yet, just do this for me. Just say, hey, there's this great thing. You can do it on your computer. You can do it most Blu-ray players. You can do it on your computer, your iPad. You can do it on your Xbox 360, your PlayStation 3, your Android phone, your Android tablet. You can watch movies anytime you want. And it's only $7.99 a month. But Uncle Jim, Aunt Betty, Netflix.com/twit. It's free for the first month. Don't tell anybody. But, of course, they'll tell everybody. Netflix.com/twit. Help us spread the good cheer this Thanksgiving holiday. Tell all your out-of-touch in-laws about. Have you told Gina, have you told your mother-in-law about Netflix?
Yes.
Good.
I will do that right after the show.
Netflix. Then she won't be hogging your TV. Say, here's an iPad. Go in your room. Netflix.com/twit.
And you're going to give her some Dr. Dre headset, too, so she can...
Get some beats. She needs the beats. You know, thank you, Netflix, for your support. I was wondering if those Dr. Dre headsets were any good because I tried to figure, because I thought, oh, these are probably terrible headphones. They're actually, I read some reviews. They're pretty good.
Yeah, Howard Stern
Like
likes them.
Monster.
The Monster. I don't like Monster as a company, mostly because they sue people who use the word monster.
Yeah.
And they were selling those $1,000 HDMI cables or whatever. But actually, apparently, they're pretty good headphones. Who knew? I'm not
It's
doing
kind
that.
of the Joe Frazier grill of the age.
Yes, the George Foreman.
George Foreman, thank you.
I did the same Joe Frazier, George Foreman mix, except it must be an age thing.
Because one of them just died.
That's right. And so I was talking about the fact, it was a Netflix ad, I was talking about the fact, great documentary on Netflix called When We Were Kings. And it's Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. No, I'm sorry. It's Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. It's the Rumble in the Jungle, not the Thriller in Manila. So that was my confusion. But it is it was an early Ali fight. It's an amazing movie if you've not seen it. Just a great documentary. But it was against George Foreman, grill man, not Joe Frazier, the guy who just recently passed away.
Sorry, that was a detour.
You know, this whole show is a freaking detour.
we don't know where we're going.
We have no idea. It's all
we're in
my
our Ford, so we're enjoying it.
It's all my fault. How many of you seen the new Samsung ad?
It's worth seeing.
Let's play it.
Yeah, it's worth playing.
It's really good. Just watch. I shouldn't even say it's a Samsung
Guys,
ad.
I'm so amped I could stay here for 3 weeks.
9 hours down, and we're almost in the door.
I think 2 people just left.
Why would they be leaving when we're only 9 hours away?
Yeah, I mean, this is an event.
Uh-oh. Blogs are saying the battery looks sketchy.
You know, if it looks the same, how will people know I upgraded?
4G? Is it 4G?
It doesn't say.
Whoa. What she got there?
Not sure.
What is that? Guys.
Whoa. Hey, bro. Can we see your phone?
Sure.
They're such hipsters.
Have you seen this thing?
Ooh, check out the screen. This thing is huge.
It's pretty massive. And it's got 4G speed.
It's magnificent.
Samsung.
Samsung? That's a Samsung. Yeah.
I could never get a Samsung. I'm creative.
Dude, you're a barista.
Why don't you guys just get 4G phones? Why don't you just get a 4G phone?
Yeah, it's a Galaxy S2. This phone is amazing.
This is Samsung's 1984.
Galaxy S2.
From Samsung. I think Dude, You're a Barista should be the was up of the age.
Dude, you're a barista. I could never get a Samsung. I'm creative.
I disagree with that, Leo. I don't think this is Samsung's 1984. In fact, the 1984 commercial designed to convince you to come to Apple, right?
Right.
It's aimed at a market of people who are new and saying it's okay to come over here. I think this ad is targeted at people who already own Samsung or Android devices.
To make them feel good.
Yes, to reaffirm how they feel.
That might be. I love how they put all the Apple fanboys behind bars.
Yeah.
You know, they're in line waiting for their iPhone,
waiting.
but they're trapped behind these barriers as the real people go about their real life. And
the
they're
pretty
looking.
girl mocks them.
They're looking.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, 4G.
Gruber was
Right, if
saying
you're
that
trying
this
to
is sort of
convince somebody.
similar to the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC ad.
That's what it is. It's a switch ad. It is.
Yeah.
But I think Dan's right. It is to reaffirm your Android choice, not to. It's certainly not going to switch any Apple iPhone fans. If anything, it's going to make them irate.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, the ad is really mocking iPhone users,
Right.
which I don't love so much. I mean, it's funny.
I love it.
It's funny because I use Android.
It is ironic because I'm using an iPhone right now, but don't you think that the vast majority of people do feel that way about this small percentage of Apple kind of hipster?
Even Apple people
Right.
feel that way. If you can't have the sense of humor to laugh at yourself, and okay, who owns an iPhone, lives in a major city, and has not waited in front of a store? It's exciting. It's an event.
I've done
but
it.
You feel like a jackass.
I do it every year. I feel like an idiot.
Right.
I feel like these guys standing behind this barrier, looking at the world. Look, they all have the white headphones and the lattes. Oh my God, you got to admit it's kind of pitch perfect though, right?
It's pretty good, but Dan's point is good. I mean, it's targeted toward people, first of all, who are embedded enough in the tech community and know that this goes on. I guess most people know that this goes on, but it is about sort of making yourself.
Well, I don't think this is a broadcast ad. I don't know. I don't think they brought. This is a YouTube ad.
They don't need to. You just did.
Right. Well, but that's my point is nowadays you really can slice the audience. And when you put stuff on YouTube, like the Old Spice guy responding to Twitterati,
right.
That's something that, you know, outside of that group, nobody would get. But it was a very effective campaign because they knew with a medium and they worked with a medium. I suspect this is only a YouTube. This is a YouTube only.
And Samsung doesn't need to buy. They know this is the holidays. Tons of human interest stories are coming up. When some producer needs to fill 30 seconds of a human interest story on network news and goes, "Oh, you remember that snarky ad? We need to do something about Black Friday. Let's put that in there."
Yeah, this is the king of snark, isn't it?
Yep.
I've never seen a snarkier ad in my life.
It's a Super Bowl quality creative without the business cost.
Yeah. Well,
you know it's going to get passed around.
I do think there might be though a business cost in the sense that there could be some backlash from this. What did Gruber say?
He said that this was reminiscent of the PC Mac ads, but that the key difference was that Samsung is mocking iPhone users, whereas in the Apple PC and the Mac PC ads, Hodgman was the PC.
Right.
You know, they were mocking the PC. They weren't mocking the users.
And he was kind of lovable. It wasn't mean in the same way.
Right. I mean, I don't know if Gates would agree.
Oh no! In fact, Paul Thurrott, our Windows Weekly host, hated those Switch ads. I mean, he liked them, but he felt insulted by them.
Right, but so I think there's a big difference between attacking the product and attacking the product's users, and I think that's important. Thing to
very good point. This could be a very risky thing for Samsung to do. In fact, I wonder if they weren't in such bitter legal action with Apple, if they would have done this. Chris DeBona, you gotta love Chris, responds to.
I love this guy and all his hair.
Chris.
I love him.
Yeah, he's been on the show. He works at Google. McAfee says that Android is a malware magnet. A new report says 2011 it was the busiest year in history for mobile and general malware. I agree with you. General malware. Yeah, there was some mobile malware. It wasn't exactly an epidemic. The amount of malware infected, according to McAfee, infecting Android devices during the third quarter grew 37% over the second quarter. I've been waiting for a mobile malware apocalypse. I don't think that's happened yet. Remember, McAfee and companies like this want to sell anti-malware solutions for mobile. They see that as a huge opportunity because they're losing their Windows market as Microsoft puts out its own free antivirus. In the next version of Windows, there will be a built-in antivirus. So they've desperately got to find a new profit center, and where better than mobile? Although we've seen malware, and we've seen malware on the Android market. Google kills it very quickly. Chris DeBona's response, he says the problem is that they say that it's inherently more insecure because it's open source. And, of course, that's not the case, and we know that. And so his response is, as usual, right on, acerbic, and very nice. I would agree with every point he makes. And he did it where? Google Plus.
Yeah, Google Plus.
606 pluses, 756 shares. That's unusual. You get more reshares than pluses. That's very interesting. And 106 comments. A lot of engagement on that. Good job, Chris. He says every single consumer electronics device uses tons of libraries from open source. There is no non-open source mobile device. He says especially OpenSSL. Most CE device apps are built with GCC, including the iPhone. That's the open source C compiler. And I have to say that I agree with him when he said no major cell phone, so far, no major cell phone has a virus problem in the traditional sense that Windows and some Mac machines have seen. There have been some little things, but they haven't gotten very far, and this is why users' sandboxing models and the nature of the underlying kernels, mobile is more secure by its very nature. He says virus companies are playing on your fears to try to sell you BS protection software for Android, RIM, and iOS. They are charlatans and scammers. If you work for a company selling virus protection for Android, RIM, or iOS, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I like that. I like that Chris kind of just tells you exactly how he feels. There's no mincing words.
So
Love it.
I've been waiting for this virus apocalypse, and I think he makes a strong case that maybe it's not going to happen at all, and certainly you don't need to worry right now, Android or iOS.
I think, the base thesis here is I think it's easy to think that open source is less secure because it's easy for hackers or evil hackers to see inside your security model and exploit it. But it's actually the opposite is true. More eyes makes it more secure.
Yep.
And that's been proven over and over again with the software that we all use every single day on the web.
Yeah.
So this is a great piece, though, and I'm glad that Chris posted it.
Let's get to our tip, our picks, our numbers. In fact, we're going to get Dan to do a guest tip in just a second. But first, Gina Trapani, your tip of the week.
The Google search app for the iPad just got updated. I know that a lot of our viewers don't have iPads. If you have an iPad, though, this is basically, I feel like, Google's way of getting Chrome onto iOS. It's really incredible. Get the update, do a search. There's really neat sliding tabs back and forth. Image search results you can page through like a gallery. It's really, really beautiful. Android did not get this app. And I think that's just because Google search on Android, in what isn't really Chrome, but I think will probably be Chrome eventually, in their browser kind of works this way already. And you already have if you're using the Google search widget on Android, you sort of have this already. But if you're on iOS and mobile Safari drives you crazy like it drives me crazy, you definitely want the Google search app and put it front and center on your home screen. It's really nice. Have you tried it, Leo?
I haven't. I love it.
It's really
interesting. They've got voice search in it. I mean, they've had that before, but they have all of the apps, as you said. And it's a browser, so it's the WebKit browser, so you never really have to leave it.
Right.
I know actually a number of people who don't use Safari; they use Google Search as they think it's a browser. A lot of people think it's a browser.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, highly recommended. Well, you'll get it anyway. I imagine everybody who has an iPad has the Google Search app on it, and you'll get it as an update. But
get the update,
good.
Yeah. Mobile Safari drives me crazy. I still can't get used to having to tap into the search box. That there's a different search box. Chrome has trained me now that the address bar is just
that's so old-fashioned.
It is. It's true.
The universal bar. You search or URLs. Why the distinction? It doesn't.
Right.
And Apple of all people. Why? Get with the program. Do you want to do a tip, Mr. Dan Patterson of danpatterson.com?
It's less of a tip and more of just a gentle reminder. And actually, we covered a lot of this at the very beginning of this discussion about Google Takeout. I just want to a gentle reminder instead of a tip that Takeout exists. And especially, I was thinking about this with the sunsetting of a lot of these Google products, particularly with things like Google Plus. Leo, I know you've been on this and everyone within the TWiT family and audience has been on this for a long time, but anytime I enter even a single character into something like Twitter or Plus or Facebook, I go, that's not on my servers and it's not on an open platform that I can control. And I discovered within this is for WordPress.org users. So if you're running your own servers, within the plugins add new menu, if you do a search for Google Plus import, you'll find a number of different tools that will import many of your different platforms, but particularly the Google Plus stream. It is buggy. You do have to be kind of a developer and be able to, modify some things and make sure that that HTML file is properly formatted. But if you do, it will go into your site on your platform that you can control.
That is cool. And it formats it. But so this would only work for a blog posts, Google Plus.
Right, and there are a number, and I'm sure any WordPress.org user knows that there are tons of bad plugins out there. I've found 3 plugins that are okay.
Right.
Nothing that is like a 5-star review, but again, if you're comfortable with Google or with WordPress.org, you're probably very comfortable formatting things yourself.
Which ones do you like? What are the names of them? Do you remember?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, but I'll put this up on Plus when I find it. I'll put a link and I'll drop a comment in the show notes or something.
It's a good thing just to know about. I don't imagine there's a mass exodus out of Plus to WordPress right now. In fact, I doubt there ever will be, but it's a good thing to know. I think it's a good.
And the tools aren't that robust, but they're good enough, and that's all we really need before the community can start working on them.
For that exact reason, I've always imported my tweets into my WordPress blog. So I have a weekly WordPress post that's all my tweets. That way, there's a record of it. This was before Think Up, and I still do it. And so that's a good idea. I do right now, I cross-post using Publish Sync. So I publish everything in Google+, it cross-posts to Facebook and Twitter, and then is picked up from Twitter and brought over to my blog. So I guess in a way, in this indirect way, I have this happening already. That's probably what you want to do. It's not like you're going to move off Google+, but you might want your blog to, something you own, to reflect the content you're putting elsewhere as a repository of it, right?
Yep. You know, I found this about a week ago, and with that Twitter Tools plugin, you can click and it'll take you over to that tweet. You know, Twitter search goes back 4 days, but if you click the hashtag next to your tweet from, say, 5 years ago, I found stuff from 2006 and 2007.
Exactly. Yeah. You search my blog, you're going to find everything I've posted on the blog, but also everything I've ever posted on Twitter. I think that is important. Absolutely. A good reminder. Thank you, Dan. Gina, you had a second tip. Do you want to do that too?
Sure. I can mention it for sure. There's now a way you can restrict search results in Google search results just to applications, and this is iOS, Android, and not just Android market, but Amazon and I forget the name of that other market, but several different third-party markets.
Right.
So if you just do a Google search, it's on the left column. Let's see. I'll do to do text. And you can drop down. In the drop down, you have to click on more, and there is a link now to just applications. So you can see, so you can see results from the Android market, from AppBrain, from AndroidZoom.com. There's a bunch of places listing apps now.
That's generous of them to do that. So it's not just their app.
It's not, right.
Store.
And this works for iOS apps as well. If you search for Mixel, which I was talking about earlier, which I really love, you'll see the link to Apple's web interface.
That's really handy.
And while we're doing sort of backup and just general PSAs, before you go see your family for Thanksgiving, grab a thumb drive and save the Firefox or Chrome installer onto it before you arrive at your parents and they ask you to clean up their computer.
Next year, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a campaign. I was talking with Steve Gibson. We all go home for if we go home for the holidays, that's the time to clean up, to upgrade, to install. And I think that I want to start a campaign like Geeks Home for the Holidays campaign where this is a perfect advice. You know, bring a thumb drive with the tools that you'll need. You upgrade them to Chrome, get them off of IE5, things like that.
Yeah, I think that The Atlantic declared Friday upgrade your parents' browser day.
Good for
Black
you.
Friday,
That's great.
upgrade your parents' browser day.
That's
so just
great.
Get the exe, get the installer on the thumb drive, because if your parents' IE is hijacked, it's just hard to get the installer. So if you show up with the thumb drive, you're
Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea.
I've almost flown Jake down to Florida more than once.
Yeah, I bet. Jake's Jeff's geek son. You're a number of the week, sir.
So I kind of like this one. I was desperate for a number. I spent, I swear, an hour looking for a number. I was nowhere. I go to Twitter and I beg and I say, you got any numbers for me? And a guy named Richard Goodwin, at Twitter came in and gave me a wonderful one from a guy named Rich Jones, thus the confusion, about an OSHA app for Android and iPhone that he says is a sticking pile of that's all
what a
about,
surprise.
that it's all about the heat index. You know, that silly index. Is it hot? Well, how hot is it? It's really hot, man. And it wants to explain that to you and have a little temperature converter and tell you how hot you feel you are and all this other stuff. And he said it's just god awful. But here's what I love about it. He used a fairly new site called muckrock.com, which is a site to enable people to file FOIAs, Freedom of Information Act requests.
Ah, right on.
And so he filed one with OSHA and found out that the application cost more than $200,000. Which, as he said,
our money
for about $2,000 worth of non-functional temperature converters. So, so all the documents are up there, and it's really kind of nice because it's a little slight moment of citizen journalism. It does exist.
Wow!
And so the number of the week is $200,000 of your wasted tax money.
I would have written it for $100,000.
Yeah,
Gina and I would have done it for $50. We probably would have worked.
Nice. Gina would have said, "Oh, it's the government. Okay, I'll do it for free."
Yeah, you see, there you go. There you go.
I would have gotten a grant from someone.
I thought your number. I thought your number might be 4.74.
Ah, that's right. I thought you were going to steal it, so I didn't even go there. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. That's the number of degrees of. It used to be 6 degrees of separation. Between that was the theory anyway in the 60s. That everybody was connected to everybody else in the world by no more than 6 degrees. Well, they've done this study on Facebook. Remember, Yahoo did this too. I haven't heard the results of the Yahoo search or result of the Yahoo study, but there's a study from the Università degli Studi di Milano and Facebook, and they found that the average distance in 2008 between Facebook people was 5.28 hops. It is now 4.74 hops.
So Facebook does bring us closer together.
With people we've never met and couldn't care about. So there. I don't have an application. I just want to thank Microsoft for first of all, hiring an advertising agency called the Wexley School for Girls.
Yeah.
That's a good name for an advertising agency. They're trying to hire away employees from other big tech companies to work on Connect. They set up a mobile bacon cart outside of Amazon and Google headquarters and offered free bacon with the label, "Wake up and smell the future." What geek can turn down free bacon, I ask you?
Oh, man. Well, a vegetarian one.
Oh, well, there you go. There's no meat in bacon. It's all fat.
That's true.
We're actually trying to kill the developers of those companies.
Well, you're right, because listen, it wasn't just plain bacon. It was bacon with toppings like cheese, peanut butter, maple syrup, and chocolate sauce.
That's the best inducement Microsoft has offered.
I'll take it. I don't care what the job is. They set it up outside Amazon yesterday. They plan on doing it in Fremont on Monday. Wow. That is hysterical. And I just think that any ad agency named a Wexley School for Girls is going to be good. They're going to be creative. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, Dan Patterson, for suffering through your Skype troubles. We're glad we could have you. DanPatterson.com is his website. No longer at ABC News Radio, much to their loss. But he's starting a podcast network, much to my loss. So stay tuned. No, it's not going to. It's
different verticals.
Doesn't even matter. It's good. It's good for the economy. A rising tide sinks all boats. No, that's wrong. Anyway, thank you, Dan, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great to have your picture.
Thanks to Eileen.
Yeah, that's a nice shot with the beard. He shaved the beard, by the way. So that's an old shot. You got to fix that. Thanks to Jeff Jarvis. His book, Public Parts, is a must-read for anybody interested in the notion of living in public. It is fantastic. And each and every edition has a bacon bookmark.
Now that's marketing.
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
But then you need to print it on wax paper.
Gosh, that book smells good. Meaty. And have a great Thanksgiving to all of you.
Same to you.
Gina Trapani, I know you got apple pie in the oven.
I know. I got to get my pie out of the oven. Yeah.
Awesome.
And everybody in the U.S. enjoy the holiday.
Yep. Smarterword.org.
Very grateful for the show.
Oh, yes. I'm thankful for all of you because you add hundreds of IQ points to this poor podcast network. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2100 UTC. I do math in my head on twit.tv. But if you can't watch live, we've got audio and video to download. It's all there at twit.tv. Please tune in next week. We'll see you next time. Have a great week, and bye-bye. I wonder if they put any skin conditioner on you.
Oh, did they just groom him?
Yeah, he just got groomed.
Nice.
He's all clean.
Okay, I'm going to call Gina.
Oh, Gina. The dog makes me seem like more of a villain. No, Mr. Bond, it is time for you to die. I am in the Dr. Evil chair. Evil is See, doggies are good because doggies don't know I'm evil.
Wow, you have the petting down the petting technique and the eyebrow. Awesome.
Now, Mr. Bond, it is time for you to die.
1 million.
Ernst Stavros Blofeld is the name.
I should just shave him so he'd be like Mr.
Yeah,
Bigglesworth.
right. He has to be shaved.
Mr. Bigglesworth?
Time to pull Jeff into the dark side. Let's see.
Yes, let's see what we can do with Jeff. How are you, Gina?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you.
If we had smell-o-vision, you would be able to smell the amazing apple pie that is baking in my oven right now.
Oh, now are you baking it?
Oh, no, my mother-in-law is baking
Your
it.
mother-in-law. How exciting.
Very exciting.
I expect you to die. Sorry, we've got to
Hello,
get that
Jeff?
right. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Can you hear us, Jeff?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yay. Does Ozzy hang by your feet?
Right now, he's looking for somewhere to pee.
Oh.
Here, me too.
He's gone over to Jason Howell. Now he's visiting Ayaz. He says, there's no food here. Maybe there's some food over there. He's basically a scrounge. That's the negative about dogs. All dogs are scrounges.
He's sitting behind me right now.
Cats aren't scrounges.
Cats demand.
They demand. Our cat wakes up every morning, 6 a.m., till we
Oh,
feed
you have
it.
a cat as well? Oh, what's its name?
Charlie. Charlie's bigger than Ozzy, much, like twice as big. They get along well. And that's why Ozzy's itchy, because he's been eating the cat's food.
Dogs have masters, cats have slaves.
Yes, very good. Wow.